Go. Oh, hey guys, I want to run through the homework that was due. Basically, it was based on the Pythagorean identities. And the big one, you guys have to keep in mind, is sine squared plus cos squared equals 1. And using this, you should have been able to solve all the questions from the homework. So let's take a look at those questions. The first one says, which expression always equals 1? Well, basically, we want cos squared plus sine squared. There was no work to do on this one. So I put the key up here. So even though it's cos squared first, it still means the same thing. All right, so that was it for number 1. Number 2, if cos theta equals 3/4 and theta is in quadrant 3, then sine is what? All right, so we're going to use, again, sine squared plus cos squared equals 1. And we know cos is equal to 3/4. So that means right here, I'm going to put 3/4 and square it and bring the rest of this down. All right, so I get sine squared plus, if you square 3/4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16 equals 1. Okay? Now subtract that over. Okay? I get sine squared theta equals, and you could use your calculator to do the subtracting. If you don't like to subtract, you could just do, make sure it's on there, 1 minus fraction button 9/16, and that's 7/16. Okay, now see how it's sine squared? That means we want to take the square root of both sides. Now when you take the square root of both sides, you get sine theta equals plus minus, right? Can you take the square root of 7? No, so it stays in the radical. What's the square root of 16? And that's 4. Now we have to decide, is it negative radical 7/4 or positive radical 7/4? We know it's not these two. And that's where the quadrant number comes in. And we write in ASTC. So we're in quadrant 3. So we're 1, 2, 3. That's the T quadrant. That means tangent only is positive. So that means sine has to be negative. So that would be the negative answer. All right, let's take a look at number 3. Given cos theta is 7/25, and theta is an angle in this time quadrant 4, that's important, and find tangent. Okay, so we're going to do sine squared plus cos squared equals 1. This time cosine is 7/25. I'll bring everything else down. Right? So then I get sine squared plus, and you could just do it in your calculator, right? We're going to do parenthesis, fraction, 7/25, square it. We get 49/625. Then subtract over the 49/625. And I get sine squared equals, so I'm going to do 1 minus 49/625, and I'm getting 576/625. Then I'm going to take the square root of it. All right, so if I take the square root of that fraction, I get 24/25. So now remember, it's sine squared equals plus minus 24/25. So let's see what we're looking for. We're looking for tangent. Now let me get my scrap paper back. Now we talked about this last time. Tangent is equal to sine over cosine. All right, so now sine is 24/25. Cosine was given, and that's 7/25. So we can put that in our calculators. So we're going to do a fraction on top of a fraction. So that's 24/25 Another fraction on the button on the bottom, which is 7 over 25. Hit enter. We get 24 over 7. Okay, now we have to decide if it's going to be a positive answer or a negative answer. So then we draw A, S, T, C. All right, now what quadrant were we in? Say quadrant 4. Quadrant 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the C quadrant. That means only cosine is positive. And we're doing tangent, so that means that answer has to be negative 24 over 25. So that's B. All right, let's look at number 4. Same equation, sine squared plus cos squared equals 1. This time I'm giving you sine. And what could be the answer for cosine? All right, so I'm going to go to the scrap paper. Okay, so this time it said sine, so I'm going to do negative radical 2 over 5 squared plus cos squared equals 1. So now I'm going to square this guy. So I'm going to take my calculator, parentheses, negative, fraction button, radical 2 over 5, I think it was. I'm going to square that, and I'm getting negative 0.08. Actually, positive 0.08, sorry. Plus cos squared equals 1. I'm going to subtract that over, so I get cos squared alone. So I'm going to do 1 minus that, and I'm getting 0.92, right? Take the square root of both sides. And I want to take the square root of 0.92, which is this decimal, 0.95916630047. Now look at our choices. That's not what any of the choices look like. All you have to do is put your choices into your calculator and see which one gives you the same answer. So if I put the fraction button in for the first one, 5 plus radical 2 over 5, nope, so it's not A, right? Let's try B now, fraction button, radical 23 over 5. Hey, that matches. So that is the answer to the question. Okay, next one, number 5, which is actually a quick one. Right, so let's take a look at this. Notice it says sine squared 32 degrees plus cos squared m equals 1. Then what does m have to equal? Well, guys, if you go back to your formula, sine squared theta plus cos squared theta equals 1. See how these are both theta? That means in order for it to equal 1, these have to be the same thing. So it's just 32 degrees. All right, next one. Using the identity, find the value of tangent to the nearest hundredths, that's 2 decimal point places, if cosine is equal to negative 0.7. All right, so that means we're going to do sine squared plus negative 0.7 squared equals 1. All right, so that makes sine squared plus, we're going to do negative 0.7 squared in our calculator, squared, it's 0.49. Okay, I'm going to subtract that over. So sine squared equals, we're going to do 1, that's not 1, 1 minus, grab the 0.49, getting 0.51. And then I'm going to take the square root. All right, so that makes sine theta equals the square root of that guy. All right, that's a big ugly decimal. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to leave it plus minus radical 0.51 for now, because I don't want sine, I want tangent. So again, if I go back to my scrap paper, tangent is equal to sine over cosine. All right, so that means I'm going to take radical 0.51 for sine and put it over what the cosine was, which is, I'm not going to worry about the negative yet. I'm going to do the negative at the end. So here we go. I'm going to do fraction button, radical 0.51 over 0.7, and I'm getting And they want it to the nearest hundredth, so 1.02. Now, got to decide if this answer is positive or negative, so I got to see what quadrant we're in. We're in quadrant 2. So A, S, T, C. Quadrant 2 is right here. That's a sine. We're doing tangent, so that means the answer has to be negative. So the answer to this question is negative 1.02. All right, and finally, the last one. Given tangent, right, and theta terminates in quadrant 3, find cosine. All right, so we got to figure this out. Now, I'm going to do this in a completely different way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to quadrant 3. 1, 2, 3, right? And I'm going to draw a right triangle in it. Trigonometry is based on right triangles. So what I did was I drew crisscross, and in quadrant 3, I drew a line that came out of here, and then I went down again, like that. And I'm going to make that theta. Now, remember, tangent is equal to OA, O over A, right? TOA. So see 7's on top? 7 is opposite over adjacent, like that. And what I want to do now is find the missing side. Well, guys, we could do the Pythagorean theorem here. So I'm going to do 7 squared plus 24 squared equals c squared. So let's do that. So we'll do 7 squared plus 24 squared, which makes 625. Then I'm going to take the square root of 625, which is 25. So 25 equals c. So that means this missing side right here is 25. Now that I'm done, they want us to find cosine. Cosine is adjacent over the hypotenuse. Well, what's adjacent to the theta? Oh, 24 is. What's the hypotenuse of this triangle? Oh, 25 is. Right? But we're almost done. Now we have to do A, S, T, C. Since we're in the third quadrant, that's the T, that means cosine has to be negative. So the answer to that